The girl in the market, the marketplace of Orion 5 space station, was always full of noise and life. Merchants shouted the names of their goods in different alien languages. Bright lights flashed above food stalls, clothing shops, and strange tech stands. The smell of fried meat mixed with the sweet scent of alien flowers. People from 100 different worlds walked past each other without stopping. It was the perfect place for someone to disappear. It was also the perfect place for someone to be found. Captain Ryan Cross moved through the crowd with steady steps. He was there for a simple job: pick up a small cargo, deliver it, and get paid. Nothing dangerous, nothing unusual. He preferred it that way. His ship, the Wayfarer, was waiting in Dock 17, and he wanted to leave as soon as possible. But then, in the middle of the busy market, he felt it. That strange sensation when someone is watching you. Ryan slowed his walk, his hand moving a little closer to the blaster on his belt. He turned his head slowly, scanning the crowd. That's when he saw her. A young woman was standing near a stall selling fruit that glowed like tiny suns. She didn't look like the other shoppers. Her skin had a faint shimmer, almost silver under the lights. Her eyes glowed a soft violet, and her hair fell in smooth, dark waves over her shoulders. But what caught Ryan's attention most was the way she was looking at him, like she knew him, like she had been waiting for him for a long time. She took a slow step forward. Her gaze locked on his. Ryan's instincts told him to walk away, to ignore her and keep moving. But something about her stopped him in his tracks when she finally stood in front of him. She spoke in a soft, clear voice. "Remember me, human? You gave me candy once." Ryan stared at her candy. He almost laughed, but her serious expression told him this was no joke. The words pulled up a memory from years ago. A dusty mining colony on the edge of human space. A scared little alien girl hiding behind a crate while chaos erupted around them. He had given her a piece of earth candy to calm her down, and then she was gone. He had assumed she was lost or taken during the attack. Before Ryan could speak, she glanced over her shoulder. Her expression changed instantly. Fear. He followed her gaze and saw them, 3 tall figures in black armor pushing through the crowd. Their helmets hid their faces, but the way they moved was enough to know they were hunters. Not ordinary law officers, not station security. They were after her. The girl stepped closer, almost whispering, "If they catch me, it will be too late for your people too." Ryan frowned. "What are you talking about?" he asked, but before she could answer, the armored figures spotted them. One of them pointed, and the crowd began to part. "Move!" she hissed, grabbing his wrist. Without thinking, Ryan followed her. They pushed through the market, weaving between stalls and startled shoppers. The sound of boots pounding behind them grew louder. A vendor shouted in anger as Ryan knocked over a table of glowing fruit. The crowd became a blur of colors and shapes as they ran. She led him into a narrow side alley. The noise of the market faded behind them. Ryan's breathing was heavy, but she didn't slow down. The armored men were still coming, their footsteps echoing off the metal walls. They turned another corner and slipped through a half-open door. Inside was an old storage room filled with broken crates and flickering lights. She pressed her back against the wall, listening. Ryan stood nearby, still trying to understand what was happening. "You've been looking for me?" he asked. Her eyes met his, and she nodded. "For years," she said. "You don't know it yet, human, but you saved my life that day." Ryan was about to ask how, but the door behind them rattled. They were found. She grabbed his hand again, pulling him toward another exit. "Not here," she said. "I'll explain when we're safe." As they ran deeper into the station's hidden corridors, Ryan realized something. Whatever trouble she was in, he was now part of it. Asterisk. The gift from the past. Ryan and the mysterious girl moved quickly through the hidden corridors of the station. The air here smelled different. Old metal, damp wires, and something burning in the distance. The sound of the marketplace was gone, replaced by the hum of power lines above their heads. They stopped inside an abandoned docking bay, the lights flickering weakly. Ryan pulled his arm free and faced her. "All right, talk," he said, breathing heavily. "Who are you, and why? Are those people after you?" She took a step closer, her glowing violet eyes fixed on his. "My name is Lyra," she said softly. "I'm the same girl you gave candy to many years ago." Ryan shook his head, still unsure. "That was on Culver's outpost, wasn't it? You were just a kid." "Yes," she nodded, her voice calm but steady. "You don't understand. That candy saved my life." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "It was just candy," he said. But Lyra's expression turned serious. "In your world, maybe, but in mine, it was medicine. The sugar in it neutralized a poison I had been given." Ryan froze. Someone had poisoned her back then. When she was just a child, she continued, her voice quieter now. "In my culture, saving a life creates a bond. A life bond. I have been searching for you ever since to repay that debt." Ryan didn't know what to say. She looked human enough, but there was something regal about her. And then she said it. "I am the princess of the Kyra Dominion." Ryan's mind flashed through what he knew. The Kyra Dominion was one of the largest alien empires in the galaxy. Rich, powerful, and dangerous. If she was their princess, her enemies would be everywhere. "Why are they after you?" Ryan asked, her voice tightened. "Because I stand against a war with your people. They want me silenced before I can speak at the Great Council." Ryan stepped back. "So if they catch you, they will not just kill me," she interrupted. "They will use my death to justify the war, and your world will burn." Before Ryan could respond, the metal floor beneath them trembled. A loud echo filled the bay. Heavy boots, dozens of them. The doors on the far side of the docking bay exploded inward. Black armored soldiers stormed in, weapons ready, their visors glowing red. "Run," Lyra said sharply, but Ryan's ship, the Wayfarer, was docked only a few meters away. He grabbed her arm and pulled her toward it. Blaster fire lit up the room, striking metal walls and sending sparks flying. They ran up the ramp just as the ship's engines roared to life inside. Ryan slid into the pilot's seat while Lyra strapped herself in beside him. The bay doors ahead were starting to close. "Hold on," he said, pulling the throttle. The Wayfarer shot forward, scraping against the closing gates in the rear. Screens. The soldiers grew smaller until they vanished into the shadows. For a moment, the only sound in the cockpit was the steady hum of the engines. Ryan glanced at Lyra. "You just pulled me into a war I didn't sign up for," he said. Her lips curved into the smallest smile. "No, Captain Ryan. I just gave you a chance to save your world." Escape through the station, the Wayfarer burst out from the docking bay into the cold black of space. Bright streaks of laser fire followed them. Flashing past the hull, Ryan gritted his teeth as warning lights lit up on his control panel. "They tagged us with a tracker," he muttered. "They're going to follow us wherever we go." Lyra leaned forward, her glowing violet eyes scanning the controls. "I know a way to shake them," she said. "There's an old supply route under the station, a path through its maintenance rings." Ryan gave her a quick look. "Under the station? That's suicide. Not if you trust me," she replied without hesitation. Ryan's instincts told him this was insane, but the alternative, being caught, was worse. He yanked the controls, sending the Wayfarer into a steep dive. The pursuing ships followed, their engines howling like predators. The station loomed above them now, massive metal structures turning slowly, the glow of its artificial lights cutting through the darkness. Ryan angled the ship toward a narrow opening between two massive cargo arms. "Brace yourself," he said. The Wayfarer slipped inside, scraping against the walls of the tunnel. Inside the maintenance rings, it was a maze of spinning machinery, dangling cables, and rotating cargo drums. Ryan swerved hard to avoid a spinning bulkhead. A loose metal container smashed against their hull, sending a jolt through the ship. The enemy ships tried to follow, but one slammed into a rotating arm. Exploding in a bright flash, Lyra's voice stayed calm despite the chaos. "Left here, then down. she instructed. Ryan followed, the tunnel growing tighter with every turn. The hum of massive engines vibrated through the ship's frame. A sudden blast of steam from a ruptured pipe blinded them for a moment. Ryan cursed and yanked the ship upward. Narrowly missing a crushing mechanical arm, they finally shot out of the tunnel into open space. For a brief second, the stars stretched across the black like a sea of silver dust. But the moment didn't last. The tracker was still pinging, and two enemy ships were right behind them. Lyra moved quickly to a small panel near her seat. She pulled out a glowing crystal device from her jacket. "This will help us disappear," she said. She pressed it against the console, and a strange shimmer surrounded the ship. The Wayfarer seemed to blur, its image fading into the darkness of space. Ryan's eyes widened. "A cloaking field?" "Something better," Lyra said. "They'll be looking for what they can see. We're now something they can't." The pursuing ship shot past them, scanning empty space. Within seconds, they were gone. Ryan let out a long breath, but Lyra didn't relax. "They'll regroup, and they'll bring more," she said quietly. "And there's something you need to know, Ryan. They aren't just after me for politics." Ryan turned toward her. "What then?" She met his gaze, her expression unreadable. "They think I'm carrying the key to a weapon powerful enough to destroy your entire planet." The desert moon. The Wayfarer drifted silently through the emptiness of space. No lights on, engines running low, hidden in the shadow of a massive asteroid field. Ryan stared at the navigation map, his jaw tight. Lyra had given him coordinates for a place called Vera 9, a desert moon deep in neutral territory. "What's on this moon?" he asked. "A safe house," she replied. "Old friends of my family, people I can trust." Ryan didn't respond, but he kept his hand near the controls. Experience had taught him that trust was a dangerous word. Hours later, the moon came into view, a pale, cracked sphere with endless storms swirling across its surface. They descended through a sky of orange dust, the ship rattling under the force of the winds. From above, Ryan saw the remains of long-dead cities buried under sand, ancient ruins half swallowed by the desert. It was a graveyard world. The safe house was hidden in the side of a rocky canyon, its entrance almost invisible. As they landed, a group of figures emerged from the shadows. They were armed, their faces wrapped in cloth to block the sand. One of them stepped forward, pulling down his hood. His skin was the same shimmering silver as Lyra's, but older, with deep lines around his eyes. "Princess," he said with a small bow. "It has been too long," Lyra smiled faintly. "Taran, this is Captain Ryan Cross, the man I told you about." Ryan gave a short nod, but he noticed something in Taran's eyes, a flicker of calculation. They followed him inside, into a cool chamber lit by dim yellow lamps. The walls were carved from the rock, with metal supports and old tech consoles. It felt more like a bunker than a home. As they sat down, Lyra began explaining her plan to reach the Great Council. Taran listened carefully, his expression unreadable. When she finished, he stood and poured them both a drink. Ryan took his but didn't sip. Something about this man didn't feel right. Moments later, two more of Taran's men entered, their weapons not slung but ready. Ryan's instincts screamed. He reached for his blaster just as one of them spoke. "Forgive us, Princess, but there's a bounty for you both that could feed our people for a century." Lyra's face hardened. "Taran, you swore loyalty to my father." "I swore to protect my people," he replied coldly. "And selling you to the warlord will do just that." The room exploded into chaos. Ryan flipped the table for cover as blaster fire lit up the chamber. Lyra dove to the side, pulling a small blade from her boot, moving faster than Ryan had ever seen. Within seconds, she disarmed one attacker and knocked another to the ground. Ryan blasted the lights, plunging the room into darkness. "Follow me," Lyra shouted. They ran through narrow tunnels as shouts echoed behind them. At the far end, they reached a hidden hangar. Inside was a small black shuttle with strange curves and a faint shimmer across its hull. Ryan stared. "Is that?" "A cloaked transport," Lyra said, her voice sharp. She jumped into the pilot's seat. Ryan close behind. The shuttle's engines roared to life, and they shot out of the canyon, disappearing into the desert storm as the moon's surface vanished behind them. Ryan looked over at Lyra. "You said these people were friends." "They were," she replied quietly. "But war changes people, Ryan. It makes everyone dangerous." The betrayal of the cloaked shuttle streaked through deep space. Its engines whisper quiet. Lyra sat in the pilot's seat, her eyes scanning the stars ahead. Ryan was behind her, checking the navigation feed. The destination was set. The Great Council's homeworld, Velcor Prime. Once there, Lyra could speak the truth and stop the war. Ryan's console beeped. A message was coming through on a private human frequency. He tapped the receiver, and the holoscreen flickered to life. A familiar face appeared. Commander Holt, an old friend from Ryan's days in the Navy. Holt's voice was calm but urgent. "Ryan, I've been tracking you. I know who you've got on board. You're in over your head." Ryan narrowed his eyes. "If you know who I have, you know why she's important." "Exactly," Holt replied. "I can get you both to Velcor Prime. Safely, no more running, no more hiding. Meet me at my coordinates." Ryan hesitated. Holt had saved his life once, years ago during a battle in the asteroid belt. If there was anyone he could trust, it was him. Lyra glanced over, her tone cautious. "You know this man?" "Yeah," Ryan said. "He's solid." They adjusted course, the shuttle cutting through the black like a shadow. Hours later, the coordinates brought them to a massive floating hangar hidden inside an asteroid. The docking doors opened smoothly, and the shuttle glided inside. The hangar lights flickered on, revealing rows of armed ships and human soldiers in dark combat armor. Holt was waiting at the center. He smiled when Ryan stepped out. "You still fly like you're being chased by ghosts," he said, offering a handshake. Ryan smirked. "Lately I am." But Lyra didn't move. Her eyes scanned the hangar, her body tense. Something felt wrong. That's when she saw it, the emblem on the soldier's armor. It wasn't human military standard. It was the crest of the Warlord's Black Legion, painted over in dull gray. Lyra's voice was sharp. "Ryan, we need to leave now." Holt's smile faded. "I'm sorry, Ryan, but there's a price on her head I can't ignore, and the Legion is paying in golden ships." Before Ryan could draw his weapon, soldiers surrounded them. One slammed the butt of his rifle into Ryan's back, forcing him to the ground. Another grabbed Lyra. Locking her wrists with magnetic cuffs, she struggled, but the energy field sapped her strength. Holt crouched beside Ryan, his voice low. "You're a good man, Ryan, but you're playing in a game you can't win. Walk away from this and live." Ryan's jaw tightened. He didn't answer, but his eyes burned with a silent promise. He wasn't walking away from this. Not ever. The rescue. The prison cell was cold. The walls made of reinforced alloy. Ryan sat on the hard bench, his hands locked in magnetic cuffs. The hum of the force field door was the only sound. He had no weapons, no plan, and only a few hours before Lyra would be executed in front of the Great Council. Across the corridor, alien prisoners sat in silence. Some had the haunted look of those who knew they'd never see freedom again. One of them, a tall insectoid with deep scars, watched Ryan closely. After a long moment, it leaned forward and whispered, "You're here for the Kyra princess, aren't you?" Ryan didn't answer, but his eyes gave him away. The insectoid nodded slowly. "They want her dead because she knows the truth. The warlord staged the attacks on your worlds." Ryan leaned forward. "You can get me out?" The alien's mandibles clicked softly. "I can, but you'll owe me a debt." Ryan didn't care. "Deal," he said, minutes later. The alien tapped a code into the floor panel under its bench. The lights in the cell block flickered, and the force fields collapsed. Shouts erupted as prisoners surged into the corridor. Ryan ripped the cuffs free with the alien's help and grabbed a fallen guard's blaster. They moved fast through the prison's winding halls. Sirens wailed, red lights flashing. Ryan shot out security cameras while the insectoid led him to a maintenance shaft. crawling through the narrow metal tunnel. Ryan could hear the distant roar of a crowd. The execution was already starting. They emerged into a storage bay just below the council chamber. Ryan spotted a rack of guard uniforms and quickly disguised himself. The insectoid stayed behind, melting into the shadows. "This is your fight now, human," it said, disappearing into the darkness. Ryan climbed the service ladder and slipped into the chamber's upper gallery. Below, the Great Council, dozens of alien leaders, sat in a massive circular hall. In the center stood Lyra, her wrists bound, guards flanking her. The warlord himself was there, his armor black as night, his voice booming as he accused her of treason. Ryan moved along the shadows, his eyes fixed on the guards nearest to Lyra. When the warlord raised his weapon to strike her down, Ryan acted. A single shot from his blaster shattered the energy restraints around her wrists. Gasps filled the chamber as Lyra snatched the warlord's own ceremonial blade from its stand. She turned to the council, her voice echoing, "These are the lies. You've been fed. The humans are innocent, and here's the proof." She tossed a small data crystal into the center display. Holo footage lit up the chamber, showing the warlord's ships attacking human colonies under forged identification codes. The council erupted into chaos, shouts filling the air. The warlord roared in fury and lunged at Lyra, but Ryan was already there, slamming into him with the force of years of military training. They fought in the center of the chamber, blaster fire and shouts around them. Finally, Ryan disarmed him. Tossing the weapon aside, guards swarmed in, seizing the warlord and dragging him away as the council demanded his arrest. Lyra looked at Ryan, her breathing heavy but her eyes shining. "You came for me," she said softly. Ryan gave a faint smile. "Wasn't going to let you have all the fun." The council chamber slowly fell silent. The warlord had been dragged away, his threats echoing faintly down the marble corridors. Alien leaders murmured among themselves, some ashamed, some relieved. The vote was swift. The war was over before it could begin. Humanity was safe. Ryan stood at the edge of the chamber, watching as Lyra spoke with the high counselors. Her posture was calm, regal, but he could see the exhaustion in her eyes. When she finally approached him, the room seemed to fade away. "You saved me," she said softly. "And in doing so, you saved your world." Ryan shrugged lightly. "Guess we're even now," but she shook her head. "No, Ryan. My people believe a life bond lasts beyond one lifetime." She reached into a small pouch at her side and pulled out a crystal candy. It shimmered faintly in the light, just like the one he had given her as a child. She placed it in his hand, closing his fingers around it. "A reminder," she whispered, "that our story isn't over." Ryan looked down at the candy. A strange warmth spread through his chest. He wasn't the sentimental type, but something about that small gift felt heavier than any metal as the council guards escorted them to the docking bay. Lyra paused at the top of the ramp to the wayfarer. "You'll keep flying, won't you?" she asked. "Always," Ryan replied. "It's what I do." She smiled. "And somewhere out there, when you least expect it, I'll find you again." The ship's engines roared to life. Ryan took the pilot's seat, the crystal candy resting on the console. As the stars stretched out before him, he realized something. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and full of secrets. But now, somewhere among those stars, there was a promise that could change everything, and Ryan Cross intended to keep it.